Yeah, it really is. And probably there's no doubts that for people that there's about 86,000 questions around transfers. So I was never going to let him get away without it. I promise. We will ask for latest updates. That was always going to come up in this one. And I suppose a bit of a unique starting point because we talked about so many players coming in, but with Frimpong, Wirtz, and now Kerkez are arising. The Napoli side, the Italian side's been Darwin Nunez a lot, but there's not really been much from sort of our side of the pond. But today it's starting to sort of accelerate with, various articles, Napoli plotting a bid for Nunez. We'll talk about Nunez first of all, but I suppose as a generic thing, is there an expectation that we've got to balance the books? We're going to see a few outgoings before anything else.
Yeah, it's not so much even balancing the books, is it? I guess it's kind of the squad's massive now. I think they've got 19 non-homegrown players. They need to get that down to 17 as a starting point. And obviously with Nunez, we've known for a while he's very, very likely to leave in this. I mean, he is going to leave in this window. I don't know why I keep being cautious around that one. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's going to go. So I'd actually missed this story today. I've been stuck in soft play all day, so I missed that one. But yeah, that definitely does seem to be the kind of the direction of travel on that one, doesn't it? That he will go and the Napoli are the front runners. So it's all about, the official bid hasn't come in yet, as far as I understand it. So is it going to be enough? How close is it? How close can you get them? I don't think Napoli are under any illusions as to it's going to have to be at least very close to their first bid to kind of 50 million. To even start a discussion. So, I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of go in somewhere around that. And then it's, Liverpool's decision then. But I mean, he is probably going to go, isn't he? I don't think they're going to be a million miles apart on valuation, and it's going to be a huge problem. That's my feeling anyway. So, it seems to be moving forward, and then that opens up spots, doesn't it? And you start to kind of sell a few, and then it's about, reinvesting that money that you raised then into the rest of the squad and seeing what they might do, which gives you almost a second transfer window after the first one, really.
It is crazy how, especially, and people have talked about the PSR figures. There's that deadline coming up in 4 days as well. With a few sales, Liverpool will almost go again, for want of a better phrase. And I suppose outgoings, there was a few other players I wanted to ask you about. We've talked about Harvey Elliott before, but it's right to give him a shout out with the double for England in the Euro Under-21 semi-finals. As a positive for us, and maybe this sounds harsh, it maybe makes 40 million, 50 million. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it certainly won't harm them, will it? Because, I mean, he's been probably England's standout player at the tournament in general, really. So he's just, I've sort of said it so many times. I love Harvey Elliott. I think he's a great lad. I think he's a great player. I think it's just such a shame Liverpool aren't trying to find a way to make this work, but I accept that they can't. And you've got Szoboszlai, you've got Wirtz can play in that central role. You've got Salah on that right hand side that Elliott likes. It's just not going to work, is it? So you probably have to do something. But I mean, from a cynical point of view, in terms of booking some pure profit, it doesn't really hurt, does it, if he's going out the Euros and doing what he's doing at the moment? But I find a sadness to the whole thing in terms of that he has to leave. But he's probably going to leave him with a big chunk of money, which is helpful from a purely selfish Liverpool perspective. But what a player he is! And wherever he goes, I'm sure he'll have a really good career because he's just a fabulous player, works hard, proper professional as well. So, that's why he's so good.
Yeah, it does feel like it won't have hurt Premier League clubs and others just take a little bit more notice. And he will, of course, have the final. I think it's this weekend as well. So another goal all there sounds harsh, but could add to his value. And I mean, this was literally as we were getting ready to go live. And it's not often we have to use Google Translate on a post, but people will know the Colombian journalist, the media outlet, Pipe Sierra.
No necesito usarlo.
Yeah, indeed. So, Luis, this one, and again, it's Google Translate, people, so give us a bit of wiggle room on this. Luis Díaz's entourage are upset with Liverpool's stance. They feel the club has gone back on their word once again with the player, which I'm guessing relates to the contract. But as it also says, something similar happened before with his contract renewal, and now with the possibility of a transfer. I mean, that's literally in the last 20 minutes. What have you made of that one?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I was always surprised with the noises that were kind of coming from Diaz's side, really, in the build up to the summer, saying that, the expectation there'll be contract talks. That's never, ever been my understanding at any point, really, that was something that was going to happen. I know that had been the noise, or, we'll talk to him about his future in the summer, but
yeah,
I've never bought that. And I've never really been told that was going to be the case. It was always going to be with him. He might get sold if a decent amount of money comes because it's 2 years on the contract. But equally, if he wants to go to the last year, if he wants to go for free and we get another 2 years out of an excellent player like him, that's not a problem. But giving him a pay rise now at this stage of his career makes absolutely zero sense. It wouldn't be sensible to do it. So I totally understand why that's not on the agenda for Liverpool. So, and I'm amazed it's come as a surprise to his camp, to be honest, that wasn't, he could have rang me. I could have told them that, to be honest. I'm shocked by it, really. So I guess with this one, we're in a phase now where it's kind of, if he's not happy that he isn't getting the contract offer or whatever, then, then he's got to ask questions about what happens next. And I guess what happens next is, are you going to go? And for that to happen, the money has to be right that comes in for Liverpool to accept it. So, the pressure's on him, the pressure's on the clubs that are interested in to make it into a decision for Liverpool, because, as I say, they will happily ride this contract out. He's on relatively reasonable wages, albeit not as low as always gets said. He's a good player who plays in multiple positions. He works his socks off. Why would you be kicking him out? No chance. So, it's up to him. If he really wants to go and he wants to get that pay bump elsewhere, then he's got to go and find a club that will be willing to pay the money to get him out of Liverpool.
Is the cynical side of me, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, because the UK, your Patch Juniors have all been consistent that he was never getting a new contract, but Pipe and obviously the Colombian side has always been there's a chance, there's expectations, there'll be talk. And now all of a sudden, shock horror, there is no talks. And obviously Luis Díaz is considering his future. And let's be honest, from the Saudi side, there will be a far bigger contract on offer there. Is it too cynical to sort of, are we putting 2 and 2 together and getting 27, or do you think there is something in that?
No, I mean, I guess I don't know whether it's kind of an attempt on his side of things to kind of soften the route out or make it clear that, oh, well, I had to go to get the money, and it's kind of playing it just a little bit of a game in that way. But in fact, it probably has to be that, because like I say, I cannot seriously accept that his side of things, his entourage, truly believed that there were going to be contract talks for a 28-year-old who you would then give a pay bump to for a contract he will be 33 at the end of. And he's not Mo Salah, by the way. So, yeah, maybe it's that. Maybe it's all part of the game, and it's just one step towards him going, and then we start to see the bids fly in. We'll have to see, but it doesn't look like it's going to be Barca, by the way, because they're pushing forward with Nico Williams, aren't they? So probably going to have to be Saudi now. Is he going to accept that? Is he willing to do that? If yes, then that looks like the likeliest outcome, doesn't it? And we'll have to wait for that bid to come in now.
Could be multiple exits on the cards in the near future. And your YouTube colleague, also patch journalist, tends to have more of a dance feel than a guitar, Mr. Lewis Steele. He's been writing and doing his Q&As, and naturally, there's some other rumoured incomings. There's a few on the picture there. From the incomings wise, Marc Guéhi seems to be a name that is prominent. Are we expecting possible developments maybe once Jarell Quansah's finished the England tournament? Looks like he's going to sign for Bayer Leverkusen. That's all pretty much done, it seems. Could Marc Guéhi be the one, do you think, that's next in the door?
Yeah, he's just definitely a target, basically, and there's a spot opening up there. I mean, it's interesting how they sell it to him in terms of game time and all those kind of aspects of it. From the outside looking in, you saw what Quansah got last season. It wasn't an awful lot. So is it easy to sell that to Guéhi? We don't know how those conversations are going. But the one thing I can say for certain is that they like the player, and if the fee's reasonable, which they think it possibly can be with Crystal Palace, and being 1 year from the end of his contract, and obviously if he wants to move, that will help. Then we could see progress. I guess the massive thing I was told was, it kind of depends on how those conversations go and how they're able to kind of sell it to him. But you're not getting indications that he's completely not interested. So. And Liverpool desperately need homegrown players as well, by the way. So this will be an important signing on that front. So, it's one of those, could be, kind of out of the blue that starts to progress, really. We're just kind of waiting for that to happen.
does feel that way. And like you said, it's a good point to make. If we're too over the overseas or non-homegrown quota, probably there's a few we've mentioned for outgoings as well. We'll have to see what develops. And I suppose the final one, I know it's your favourite topic to talk about. And to be fair, a lot of fans have referenced this. Alexander Isak, we've had various UK journos, patch journos. This just rumbles on and on and on. Is it almost until someone says, like, Alexander Isak, I'm signing a new contract or I want to go, this is just going to keep rolling? And it is worth me mentioning to you, as a few have flagged today, Newcastle seem set to potentially spend 160 million or more, don't they?
Yeah, this is the thing. I did a YouTube video where I briefly mentioned this, and I'm really scared about. I said this in the video. I'm kind of scared of talking about this because you don't want to kind of turn it into anything bigger than it is, or get anybody to say, well, he said he's definitely coming or whatever. But this is the basics of it is, and I will say it time and time again, is that nobody's ruling it out, but equally a lot of things have to fall into place. So we're still in that position. But I think what is very, very interesting is kind of the noises from the Newcastle side of things have just gone, they've just softened with every passing week, haven't they? It's kind of gone from there's absolutely no chance we're selling, we've got Champions League football, to like, oh, they're going to come in with a bid in July, we're worried about it, and all this kind of, it's just kind of getting softer and softer. And they're spending a lot of money, as you say. A club that did have PSR concerns up until recently are spending big again. So it's just one that I'd say I still think I would say it's unlikely because of all the things that have got to happen. Big sales for Liverpool to open up the spots. The amount they've got to bid has got to be accepted, and it's got to be something they think is reasonable. All the several other elements that are there. Newcastle being willing to sell his contract, the fact they're doing okay at the moment, all these things. So it makes it very, very difficult to do and difficult to see it happening. But equally, people at Liverpool would just say there's no chance, and they're not saying that. So maybe.
It ultimately does. And I get it, as people will say. It comes down to that thing right now that no one is saying no, are they? Maybe that's the best way of phrasing it. There's no absolute shutdown. There's no absolute, it's definitely not going to happen. There is a little bit of uncertainty there, but we will see what develops on that. And for the final point, we'll see if we can get it fully working. But we did want to have a quick look at the AI tactics board just to see how you think it might unfold this season. Now, before anyone jumps on this, people, I fully understand that there is potential. It could be Conor Bradley at right back. The setup's different and how it will work. But if we are provisionally, David, putting Florian Wirtz in the team, Milos Kerkez in the team, and Frimpong in the team, is that a shape that you see it working out as, or anything different for you at all?
Yeah, it's interesting with Wirtz, isn't it? Because there's been a lot of talk of him being in the 10, but I just think, well, what does that mean for Szoboszlai? And I just don't think you can afford to take him out of the team. I know there's so much talk about end product or whatever, but you missed him massively when he wasn't there last season. He covers so much ground. If McAllister gets run past, he's quick enough to get the other side of him and get the other side of the attacker. I just, those elements are crucial, covering off the fact that Salah basically didn't have to run last season. I think losing that is too much. So I wonder about that Wirtz off the left-hand side and whether that's the way to do it, because, you wanted your wingers last season, the way they played it, really, to be in those positions, didn't you? To kind of cut inside and be kind of very, very central rather than hugging the touchline. Liverpool don't ever want the wingers there, particularly if you've got fullbacks who are playing in this way where they're right on the outside, as I say, playing like 90s wingers. There's so much scope there for your wingers, so to speak, to basically be inside forwards, which is exactly what you want Salah doing. It's exactly what you'd want Wirtz doing, really. So I'm not against that as an idea, and it makes a lot of sense to me, really. I guess the kind of mad thing is if you add Isak into that, and he's very much a traditional centre forward rather than a kind of drops in and links it guy, maybe that messes things up a little bit. But there's also potential, of course, for Wirtz to maybe be in that false nine role from time to time, and you play an orthodox winger on the left. But there's so many possibilities. I honestly, I could not tell you or even have a kind of solid guess, and this is why I'm really excited for pre-season this time because there's a lot for us to kind of learn and see, and how these players all play and fit together. It's one of the most exciting pre-seasons I can kind of remember, really.
I must admit, for Monday's Media Matters, I have got a few questions around pre-season because, I mean, it'll be July before you know it and the players are back. So we'll be sort of working into that, but we can save it to them. The final question, probably to finish this, doesn't relate to transfers. How's the guitar practicing going right now?
It's absolutely not happening, by the way. I mean, you can keep saying it, but there's just no chance. And I don't so much have to practice these days. I honestly think I've been playing now for like 30 years. So, it's just never happening though. But it's a nice try. It's a nice try.
Well, ladies and gents, if the Isak one happens, I think this will have to line up with it, but we'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Make that promise.
There you go. But we'll see what's happening. All we know for definite, ladies and gents, is Milos Kerkez is now a red, likely to be the first choice left back. There's some question marks around other squad members, but it is right to be excited with everything that's coming up. All it leaves me to say as ever is, David, for the time, the insight, and looking at it all thoroughly with us, it is much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
And ladies and gents, that was a Media Matters special for Anfield Index.